Hey, thanks so much everybody for being here. So I'm Sandra Williams. I'm the new Career Development Manager. I'm upstairs in 401. I have on the front of that handout, I have some information about how you can contact me. So you can contact me for one-on-one appointments and questions. You can email me for questions or anything that comes up. All right, so today we're going to talk about informational interviewing. How many of you are familiar with the concept of informational interviewing? Few of you? Okay. So today's objective, it's a little minions, I like my minions. So we're going to talk about and understand the purpose of the informational interview. Okay. We are also going to learn about the benefits and why you should do it. We're going to outline the process of the informational interview, which it is a process. And we're going to establish our next steps. Alrighty, so I'm just going to throw this out to you guys. What do you think an informational interview is, just by the sound of it?
It's an interview where you gather information.
Exactly, bingo. It's an interview where you gather information, right? So it's informal. It's a conversation, basically. So you're taking charge of it. So you're initiating it. And you're reaching out to somebody who is in the same field or in the same interest that you have to learn more. It's a form of targeted networking. Targeted, what do I mean by targeted networking?
You're focusing on your field or...
Right, so you have, exactly, you have a target you're going for. You're being very specific about where you want to network. You're not going to one of those networking events where who knows who you're going to meet, right? So if you go to those broad networking events, you can meet all different types of people, and that has its advantages. But if you want to meet somebody specifically within a certain field or somebody who works at a certain corporation, you're at a disadvantage. But with informational interview, you can target who you want to interview with, where you want to interview. All right, so it's a powerful and strategic tool to gain valuable knowledge. What do I mean by strategic? Kind of focusing a little bit on what I talked about previously. Right, you're targeting and you're being very purposeful about who you want to talk to, where you want to talk to them, what do you want to talk to them about, right? Because the idea is that this person could possibly help you down the road. And lastly, it's an opportunity to broaden your network. We all know the value of our network, right? How do you think you get a job? How do you think most people get jobs? Through who you know. That's right. So the informational interview is a really great way to get in, talk to people, get to understand the ins and outs of their organization, and possibly learn about some jobs that could be coming down the pipeline before it's even posted on the job boards. Yeah?
Is this like a formal meeting?
It's an informal meeting. Well, we'll talk about how you initiate it, but it's informal and it's conversational. Okay, so have you ever been like this person? They're saying which direction I should go in. And she's thinking about, oh, maybe she wants to be a college professor, an author. Maybe she wants to go into crisis services. Maybe she wants to work in the nonprofits. Have you ever been like that, where you're like all over the place? The reason that we're like that is because we don't have information yet, right? The more information we gather, the clearer we become. The more we can weed out things, the more we can understand our strengths. So what's in it for me? What's in it for you if you get the informational interview? To get advice about how to prepare for a career, right? So if you're interested in a certain career, you want to know how to go forward with that, you can talk to somebody who's in the field, learn firsthand about what the job is really like, right? So a lot of times these things aren't posted online. They're not posted in books. You can learn firsthand from somebody who's actually practicing that job. And you might find out some really truthful things that, people who try to be overly optimistic may not want to put in writing. And you can learn how to prepare yourself that way. You can learn about additional career paths. So if you have the same degree as somebody, and I have a degree in industrial organizational psychology, and I was curious, I reached out to other people with that same degree just to find out what career paths they took, what options. And they ended up being very broad. They were all over the place, usually within HR, but that was the reason for me to do some informational interviews. You can broaden your contact and relationships like we talked about earlier. Keep in mind that when you do an informational interview, these people may help you down the road. It's not an instantaneous thing, right? So the idea is building a relationship And I'll give you an example. I reached out to somebody to learn about career development, to learn about where career advisors work. And he later on heard of a contract position and referred me to that. So I got a job through that because I had interviewed with him in an informational interview. The most effective way to network. So just keep that in mind. Because you're being targeted, because you're targeting who you want to talk to, you have that person's undivided attention for that brief period of time. So in a broad situation where you're going to a conference, you may have 3 to 5 minutes to talk to somebody. It's very distracting, people coming in and out. It's not a way to get in and really get to spend some time with that person. So the informational interview, you can target who you want to talk to, the organizations that you want to talk to, and you can have that person's undivided attention for 15 to 30 minutes. Why would somebody want to do an informational interview with you? What do you think? Why would somebody be open to that?
Maybe they used to be in your shoes.
They used to be in our shoes, right? They know what it feels like. What else?
Maybe it's flattering to them.
It's flattering to them. Very good. Kind of strokes their ego a little bit. Sometimes people just like to be helpful. Some of the things we mentioned, they enjoy talking about their expertise. That, like themselves, somebody else had reached out to them in the past and now they're paying it forward. They're interested in building their own network. So I have a friend who's a manager, and she learned a long time ago that she needs to start building her team and learning who's out there and finding people that she feels she could enjoy working with. So it's an opportunity. So this informational interview I was telling you about previously, another reason that he reached out to me was because he has a lot of people on his team who he knew were going to be retiring soon. So he realized he needed to start reaching out. So he wanted to start building up his pipeline, so to speak. So as we were saying earlier, as we were mentioning in the back, how do we go about doing this, right? So the informational interview is a process, right? How do you know who to interview? How do you find these people? LinkedIn, right? Great source. How else would you find people to interview?
Events.
So why would you want to interview them?
Because they have the job you want.
They have the job we want, right?
Or
So
they work at the company that you want.
they work at the company, right? So say you're interested in working for Google. How would you go about finding somebody who works at Google? You want to interview them. You want to know what Google's like. How would you find somebody who works at Google?
I would attend to some kind of meetup or workshop or event.
You be strategic and you try to find that, right? So the best way is to first start off with our friends, our inner circle, right? So if you know somebody who works at Google, say, hey, can you reach out and try to find somebody in the training department? Can you reach out and find somebody that works in the EAP department? They might be able to find somebody for you to talk to, right? CIIS alumni. That's a great connecting point. I've reached out to people, as I mentioned earlier, with my background in IO Psych. I reached out to people. Well, I went to good old SJSU, right? I reached out to people. And because we had that commonality, it was very easy. They would say, yeah, let's get together. And I actually made friends that way. And you can do that here as well. Your professors might have some idea on who you can reach out to. They might be able to refer you. So those are what we call warm calls. And those are always the best way. If you have somebody who is a mutual connection, you can always say, well, Yenny referred me to you. You know, we both know Yenny. Oh, yeah, Yenny's great. You have that connection. So you have your friend that can prepare the way for you. So that person is expecting you to reach out. You can reach out cold, and I've done that. Like I mentioned earlier, the man who wanted to build his bench strength, who referred me to that contract position, I reached out to him cold. I didn't know him at all. I reached out to him through LinkedIn. So you can do that by searching for people on LinkedIn by their job titles. You can find out, okay, I'm looking for career advisors. I want to see where they're working. And that was one of the things I was interested in. I knew that they worked at universities. I knew career advisors worked at outplacement places such as like Lee Hecht Harrison, people helping others who've been laid off to get jobs. I knew some were in private practice. I reached out to this gentleman at Kaiser. That was very intriguing to me because these people were already employed. So that what do career advisors do for those people who are already employed? And so that was my objective when I met with him. I wanted to learn more about that environment. So I had that objective. then I went and I started searching. So I did by job title, and then you can also do by organization. So if you're interested in working at Google or you're interested in working in a certain university, you can start looking for individuals on LinkedIn that way, and you can reach out to them through LinkedIn.
Oh, that have individuals that have that job title.
Yeah, yeah. Or if you know somebody who works at Google who might know somebody, it's kind of a so many degrees of separation game.